Sammy the Bull Gravano was the underboss in the Gambino crime family. He was put there by John Gotti. Gravano and Gotti orchestrated the 1985 assassination of Paul Castellano, which allowed Gotti to take over the family.
Gravano had connections in construction. He had a lot of money coming in, so forth and so on. And Johnny was reluctant, but he made him the underboss or whatever it was.
In 1991, Gravano turned on Gotti and testified against him in trial. Gravano's testimony ended up putting Gotti away for life. While testifying against Gotti, Gravano had to admit to taking part in 19 gangland murders.
Come on, the guy killed 19 guys. You leave him out in the fucking street and Gotti gets 500 years?
In 1993, Gravano was called before Congress to testify about corruption and organized crime influence in the sport of boxing.
It was more like a Dick Tracy episode than a congressional hearing. There was mafioso Sammy the Bull Gravano, brought in from prison under heavy guard because half the underworld wants him dead.
During that testimony, Gravano dropped names like Al Certo, Buddy McGirt, Vito Antifermo.
First of all, we know why he was up there. He was up there to save his own ass. So now trying to get leniency from the government, I'll cooperate, I'll give you names.
But once a boxer becomes successful, the family that has him can profit from that success. Some of our people are in trouble, and at trials, we will be able to bring some of them down at the trial to lend support to the people who are on trial. Another boxer our family has an interest in is Buddy McGirt. His manager is Al Certo, who is a Gambino family associate. Al Certo is with Jojo Carrazzo, who is a made member of our family.
Look, I know everything about Al Certo. Everybody was nice to Al Certo because he makes free suits for them. He was a great tailor. But he knew every wise guy. Every wise guy came to get free, a suit.
Certo took some exception.
And I'll take the lie detector and we'll see who's lying in front of you guys, in front of all these here people. I never met the guy in my life. He is full of when he says I know him. I don't even know this guy.
Certo came up in a New Jersey State Police organized crime investigation where they linked him to Johnny DiGilio, who was once a top lightweight contender. DiGilio would often come to Certo's tailor shop. DiGilio was in the Genovese crime family, and Certo would make suits for him, but he would disappear into the back of the tailor shop and make phone calls. So the FBI started staking out Certo's tailor shop.
One of the most colorful people I've ever interviewed was Al Certo, trainer, suit maker, haberdasher. I came right out and asked Al, who I loved, and Al says, "Why? All I did was make suits for these people. That guy's a no good bum."
I used to do clothes for everybody, The biggest gangsters in the world came here, New York, California, they all came here, and FBI used to have an apartment across the street. At that time, I didn't know it, but cameras and everything. So I kind of had that stigma in me, a connected guy. I wasn't connected. All I was looking to sell suits. I told the FBI one time, they used to tell me, "How come all of you gangsters come here?" Well, I don't see you guys coming here. You guys are cheap guys, Yeah, I wish I could make your suits, Spend some money, Talk to the government, they would say, tell them to give us a raise.
If there's one thing that any boxing person knew about Buddy McGirt, this is a terrific fighter who really couldn't get a title shot. This guy couldn't get anybody.
In my 7 years at the New York State Athletic Commission, from 1988 to 1995, these were the years for Buddy McGirt. Arguably one of the real great fighters in the history of New York. The guy could fight. And he was managed by Al Certo. We heard talk that Al Certo was controlled by the mob and this and that. I never saw that. I think that Sammy the Bull Gravano is just not a guy to be believed. I think Sammy talked a lot just to hear himself talk.
Did you read what he said about me in the book?
No.
Yeah, you got to read, that I was being paid by the Gottis. Gravano, he was a real fucking garbage can. he was sparring, trying to spar, hit the heavy bit.
What did you hear about Gravano at Gleason's gym? What do you know about that?
Well, what I know is that he wanted to appear to be a fighter, but he didn't really want to be a fighter. He would actually bring his own sparring partners, and they were basically told, you're fighting with the handcuffs on or one hand behind your back. Some of them were paid not to hit him. He had some professionals that were put in with him that, were told, you let him win, whatever you do. I got most of this from Teddy Atlas was a very prominent trainer who was training Gravano, and Gravano, would come in and at first give off the appearance of being a really tough guy, but when, it came time to box, he was scared, and he told Teddy that he was scared.
I felt that he was doing the boxing to give himself confidence that he couldn't find himself, to build himself up, to bulk himself up, not physically only, but mentally.
The point of it all was lost on me. The senators are naive. They really are. I hate to say it, but Congress people are incredibly naive about things like this. Sammy didn't know jack shit about boxing. He knew a couple of Italian names that he was able to drop in front of, a Senate committee. And it kind of reminded me of the scene in The Godfather, with Willie Cheech, and, the family's got a lot of buffers and all of that. But the truth of the matter was he really didn't come up with anything that we didn't already know.
His testimony before Congress was really much ado about nothing. McGirt had always defended Certo and adamantly said that he was never part of any organized crime.
Even in my capacity as a journalist at that, I hated Sammy Gravano. It's like, who the hell are you to sit there, and say this? You don't know a goddamn thing that you're talking about. You're a phony tough guy. You're killing people with a gun from behind. There's no courage or anything involved, any kind of dignity, any kind of self-respect involved in that. So, I went in not liking the guy to begin with. When listening to his testimony, he just confirmed everything that I thought.
Given Gravano's flimsy testimony before Congress, you do have to wonder about all his other testimony.
Sammy Gravano's not going to help you. He doesn't know anything.
I believe our whole background, John Gotti's and mine, our reputation of what we did and what happened, I believe if he would have knocked him out by accident, he would have picked him up.
If you want to fix a fight, you match fighter A against fighter Z, like A-level fighter against bad fighter. Maybe bad fighter has a built-up, puffed-up record, right? And you can make the case that this guy is really good. And, I'm not going to say any names, but there are famous boxers right now who got fat on really bad fights. So yeah, if you're going to fix a fight, it's not like, some guy goes, hey, we're going for a price on Wilson. You're going down in the third round. That does not happen.
Gravano also mentioned some big names in boxing, but was short on specifics as to whether they had done anything wrong. Senators asked the obvious question.
In other words, is there anything that the federal government could do to discourage organized crime from its association with boxing?
The price is very small.
These are guys who, in their own little realm there of, cops and robbers and whacking guys in an alley or, sneaking up behind a guy and shooting him in the back of the head, think that they're, real tough guys. But when they get in there and there's another guy who, is not playing by your rules, it was a different story. So, I also got to see that side of Sammy.